In today's video, we are going to be talking about point slope form. So in this lesson, we have 3 targets. We're going to calculate or write an equation in slope-intercept form based on given information. We're going to graph when an equation is in slope-intercept form. And then we're going to take slope-intercept form and write it into standard form. So the first thing we have to do is make sure, well, what is point slope form? So here it is. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, so you're going to have to work on memorizing this. So, keep saying it over and over in your head all the time. Well, what does m stand for? M stands for the same thing it always has, which is slope. So you are going to plug a number in for the m spot. And then you're also going to plug numbers in for the x1 and the y1. So where do x1 and y1 come from? They come from a point. So that's the x from a point. And this is the y number from a point. And back up here in the formula itself, when you see these little minus signs right here, I think to myself that those minus signs just mean, hey, do the opposite sign of the number. Because if I say minus a negative, it switches to plus. Or if I say minus a positive, it's really just a minus. So anyway, moving on. When is it useful to use point slope? Well, we use this one when we do not know the y-intercept. Because if we knew the y-intercept, then we would use slope-intercept form. Okay, so that's why they came up with point slope, because you don't know the y-intercept. So let's look at some examples together. All right, so on the first one, you're going to notice that they tell you the slope and they give you a point. So in the point, 3 is x1 and negative 2 is y1. So now we're just going to plug into our formula. So I'll write the formula down here again. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Okay, so we got y, and then y2 is negative 1. So if you have minus a negative, is everybody okay? Minus a negative just means it's going to switch to y plus 2. Okay, or remember, think if y1 is negative 2, the opposite is plus, so you write y plus 2. Equals the slope, which is 1/2. And then we have x, and then x1. x1 is 3, and the opposite of a positive 3 is a negative 3. So here's my first answer. This is point slope form. Now in the directions, it also says, okay, once you have it in point slope form, then take it and rewrite it into slope intercept form. So to do that, we just have to work on calculating this out. So with parentheses, you should use the distributive property. So 1/2 times x is 1/2 x, and 1/2 times negative 3 is negative 3/2. And then we want to get y by itself. So we're going to subtract 2 on both sides. So then we get y equals 1/2 x minus 3.5, or you can have 7/2. So either way is acceptable. And this is my slope-intercept form answer. So now if we go to the middle one is a little bit harder because this time they don't tell you the slope. So therefore, we must calculate the slope. So hopefully everybody remembers slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we got 3 minus 1 over 2 minus negative 4. So 3 minus 1 is 2. Minus a negative is going to switch to plus, and 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 over 6 reduces to 1/3. So now we get to pick one of our points to use. So I'm just going to choose at random the point -4, 1 to use with my slope. So now go back to point slope. So the y number in my point is 1, so opposite is -1, equals slope, which is 1/3, parentheses x. The x number in the point I chose is -4, so opposite is +4. Okay, now we're going to put it in slope-intercept form. So slope-intercept form, distribute. So 1/3 times x is 1/3 x. 1/3 times 4 is 4/3. And then get y by itself, so add 1. So y equals 1/3 x plus 7/3. Or you could say y equals 1/3 x plus 2 and 1/3. Okay, pause the video and you try it. Okay, so when you look at the point slope, I wrote the point slope 2 different ways because it depends on which point you pick, but either answer is correct. And then when you're rewriting it into slope-intercept form, it doesn't matter which one you pick because when you rewrite them at the end, we should all come up with the exact same slope-intercept form answer. Okay, so let's move on to, well, how do you graph them? Okay, if all else fails, you could graph by rewriting it into slope-intercept form, but that's going to take a little bit more work. So here we have a shortcut or a faster way to graphing. Remember, we said the slope is the number in front of the parentheses, so that's -2/3. And then the point. Well, remember, when we're identifying the point, when we put it into slope-intercept form, we said you had to do the opposite of the number. So if I look in with x, it says +1, but you have to write the opposite, so that's going to be -1. And then with the y, it says -3, but you have to do the opposite. So don't write -3, write +3. So you must remember to do the opposite of each number to make the point. So start by graphing the point. So I'm going to go left 1 and up 3. And then from that point, you can do your slope. So go down 2 and to the right 3. So down 2 and to the right 3. Down 2 and right 3. Then, of course, you can also do your slope backwards. So you can go up 2 and left 3, up 2, left 3, up 2, left 3. And then we get to draw on our line and be done. Yay! All right, so let's go to the next one. Slope is 2, so I'm going to think of that as a fraction, so I'm going to put it 2 over 1. Then for my point, remember, switch the signs. So negative 5 becomes positive 5, and negative 3 becomes positive 3. So then start with the point 5, 3, and then go up to right 1. So up to right 1. Then, of course, you can do your slope backwards, which is down 2 and left 1. And then you could draw in your line. Okay, pause the video and you try it. Okay. Moving on to the last question. Okay, for this one, it says that at the facility, it has a banquet hall and it can hold up to 250 people. The price for the party includes the cost of the room rental plus the cost of a meal for each guest. You are planning the event for 75 people and have a budget of $1,200. Part A, will it be enough? So in order to figure out if it's enough, I've got to have an equation so that I can plug in my number of people and calculate the cost for it. Okay, so right now, if I look at my graph, the number of guests, that is on the x-axis. So X is going to stand for the number of guests. On the Y-axis, we have the total cost. So Y is going to represent the total cost. So to help us with an equation, we have to know the slope. So I'm going to pick 2 points. So I'm just going to start here with the 50. So if 50 guests go, the cost is $725. And then I'm just going to pick the next one. If 100 people go, the cost is $1,325. All right, so plug in our slope formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I plugged in my numbers. So go ahead and subtract them. And you get 600 over 50. And remember, with word problems, we don't want our slope as a fraction. We want it as something that means something to us. So go ahead and divide it out. And you get it as 12. So for an equation, okay, let's go to point slope. So I have my slope, and I'm going to choose the first point to use. So y, and then the y number is 725, so opposite is minus 725, equals slope, which is 12, parentheses x, The X number is 50, so opposite is minus 50. Right, now, in my point slope form, this is where I can say, all right, well, what am I trying to do? I am trying to figure out if I have enough money for 75 people. So let's go ahead and plug in. Remember, X is the number of guests. So where you see X in your equation, plug in 75. So y minus 725 equals 12 parentheses 75 minus 50. So y minus 725 equals 12. And then inside the parentheses, 75 minus 50 is 25. So y minus 725 equals 12 times 25 is 300. And then to get y by itself, add 725 over. So we get y to equal 1,025. So that's telling me the cost for 75 people is $1,025. So will we have enough money? Yes, we do, because she has a budget of $1,200. So yes, because the cost for 75 people is $1,025, which is below her budgeted amount of $1,200. Okay, part B. Okay, part B says, what is the y-intercept? Okay, we don't know the y-intercept right now. Please don't call $1,025 the y-intercept. That's just the cost for 75 people. We don't know how much the cost is for the y-intercept yet. So let's go back to our point slope formula. So y minus 725 equals 12 parentheses x minus 50. Okay, to figure out the y-intercept, you need to rewrite this in slope-intercept form. So let's distribute. So that gives me 12x minus 600. And then we're going to add 725 to both sides. So y equals 12x plus 125. So right now, we know the y-intercept is $125. And what does that mean to me? Okay, what is $125? Well, remember back in the word problem, it says the price of the party includes the cost of a room rental and the cost of a meal. Well, the cost of the meal is the $12. That's your slope. So then that means the y-intercept has to be the cost of the room rental. So then it takes $125 for the room rental. And you're done. Thanks for viewing. If you have any questions, let me know.